spinning. Okay, we're live.
Okay, we're going to call the State and Budget Committee meeting to order.
Okay.
What to do? Okay.
Okay. Can you guys hear me okay? With my voice is a frog, so I apologize. But this evening, we're going to be talking about some changes that I'll be bringing to council in April for some supplemental budget changes. Come on, Mousy. Okay. So, and the main reason for our budget changes, we've received some ARPA funds that we need to add to the budget so we can spend it. We've had some unexpected facility expenditures come up so far this year, some unexpected materials and services, and some staff changes that are resulting in some additional cost. You guys hear me okay? Okay. So tonight we're going to talk about the timeline, budgets. They're going to present what the changes are, answer any questions you guys may have about the budget changes or the budget coming up. And since we're getting about ready to start budget for the next year, I thought I'd talk about some key factors that we're facing while the city's building their budget. So, as you know, our budget, we start building it right now. We're actually writing it now. Everyone's pretty much done with it by April, and we're getting it ready to give to you guys by the first part of May. So a lot of times things can happen that we're not prepared for, but some things break that we didn't think were or unexpected cost is or changes. And these are the reasons we usually have supplemental budgets. So for the general fund, if that helps. So for the general fund, the changes are we're going to be adding the ARPA funds. Those were not in the budget originally because we didn't know exactly how much we were going to get, and we couldn't really plan the budget. They were still trying to decide on how we could spend it, even though they're still making changes on that. We do know that we can't do the sand bed. So out of the $920,000 that we were awarded, 900 of it will be going to the water fund to pay for the sand beds, and the 20,000 will remain in the general fund while we plan out how we're going to spend the rest of it. So that revenue will go up. American Recovery Rescue Plan Act. So, and we have an additional 920,000 coming around October, and we have till the end of 24 to spend it. So we will be doing a staff meeting here shortly, hopefully, and kind of come up with a list of options and bring it to a work session for council to help guide the best way for us to spend that going forward. The chances of that getting completed before budget is going to be kind of tight. So we'll probably put the new revenue in the next budget and then have the work session and then add the expense like we are now for the sand beds. Maybe I have to leave this off because you guys can maybe do better. So that's what's happening. So the revenue is going to increase for that side. The police department has got a bunch of expenditures going on between finishing up the remodel. A few things came in a little higher than expected on our budget, that we were doing carpet and paint and lockers and getting it updated some for the police department side. We've also hiring 3 new officers, so that's going to be increasing the expenses to get them uniforms and all of those things. And gas prices are climbing really high and the budget's close. So we're putting 30,000 in there. And at this point, I don't think we might not spend the whole 30, but I want to give us cush because we can't go over our spending authority. So this late in the game, I always try to budget a little bit higher just in case. So with those expenses coming in, we need another 30,000 in materials and services to make sure we get through all of the expenses for the police department. Any questions on that? Sorry, Paige, you just came in really late. But it's finishing the remodel. They put new carpet, they did new paint, finished redoing the door at the police department, and then finishing up the lockers. So there's going to be a little more expense than budgeted. And then we have the new officers we're trying to get hired. We're trying to hire 3 right now to fill the vacancies. So that's going to be an extra cost for all the background checks and the physicals and their vests and their equipment. And then gas is really close to the line item. So we want to just make sure there's enough room in there.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Susanna,
Yeah.
does that, you said hiring the 3 officers, is that filling that vacant position that we had open for a while?
That one isn't filled yet, but we are filling that too. But right now, it's replacing Danielle, or it's replacing Tim that's already left. It's replacing one more that left. Oh, and Travis is leaving, and then Danielle's leaving, and then the vacant position. So we're going to get 3 of those filled this time, and then 4th one at the beginning of next fiscal year of '24.
And then where does that 30,000 come from?
Out of the general fund.
Okay.
So the next slide. Oh, what'll end up happening is with it, it'll reduce between the revenue we added, the 20,000 we added, and then the expenses I'm going to show you in the general fund. Try not to squeak. It'll be a decrease in contingencies, just so the budget balances. But we also have a way bigger beginning fund balance than budgeted, but I didn't bother changing that because it'll just be a bigger beginning fund balance because we cut expenses so tight the prior year. We have like 300 and something thousand higher in our beginning fund balance than planned. So even though I'm reducing your contingency, it's really not going to, because I have all this money that's sitting there that's not in the budget line item that's going to push it up when we do the next budget. Does that make sense? Okay. Yeah, for me to go through all the line items and change everything would make it way bigger than a supplemental budget. And so I'm only changing what I think we may have an issue with, and then we'll catch it all up with the next budget. And then I'm doing my quarter update at the next council meeting. So we can talk more about that on how the beginning fund balance was bigger, which I think I talked about on Q1, how we came in a lot higher.
Susanna? With the $30,000 increase for the police department stuff, I understand things have increased everywhere for everything. Are we expecting anything else that they're going to need for their remodel in the upcoming budget? Like, are we going to get any others? Or is this done
No,
now?
this will complete their remodel completely. So their next fiscal year, the only thing they'll have in a capital outlay project or building is really just the other vehicle, because they're still 2 police cars short from getting them, because they have 2 cars that are over 100,000 miles. So they're starting to get lots of repair. So they will be getting, and we do plan to put in the budget another police car next fiscal budget. But no more than just basic maintenance at the police department.
Have they looked into any like grants that there are for smaller communities for police cars or anything like that? I don't know if there are, but is that something that we've even looked at?
Not that I know of. I know we have grants that come in to help with the vests, and we have grants that come in for, extra money to help cover some of the overtime for the drunk driving and the seatbelt things. But I don't think we've seen any for a car.
Awesome, thank you. And also thank you for not taking all that time to update every single line item. I think the community, the taxpayers probably appreciate that too.
I only have so many hours in a day to get it all done. But we can't be out of compliance, so I can't, if anything, I'm even a little bit concerned we'll go over. I've put it in this one to make sure I've got cush.
Susanna, quick question.
Go ahead.
Oh, this is regarding the police vehicles. I've read a handful of articles now online about electric vehicles and how police departments in different parts of the country have started looking at electric vehicles as replacements because they actually save the department's money in maintenance and fuel costs. So I think that'd be really cool for us to look into.
That's a good idea.
End up saving money over time. And I think I could probably send you a couple articles, but the departments have loved them so far because they're not worried so much about the range. They don't put a ton of mileage on them every day. They drive around 10, 15 miles a day, but So the range isn't a huge issue.
So
They
that's just
save-
the police cars that are driving around the
Yeah,
local.
yeah, and they save $6,000 to $7,000 a year on gas, just doing that, so.
We'd have to look at infrastructure to make sure we had enough places to plug them in.
Yep.
Because right now, we only have the couple spaces at the library that I do see some cars using. There was one there today when I came over. So, and that, right now, with all of, Alyssa and I have been talking a lot with the state about grant options for infrastructure. There's a lot out there right this minute, also talking about the pool and other things. Trying to see what else we can find. So we submitted a grant today to help pay for the utilities rate study that we're about to start. Cross your fingers, it's 20,000 of the 100,000 it's gonna cost, but still it's something. So, and there, he gave us a bunch of lists and some places to go. So we're definitely gonna be checking that real close to find more to help cover what we got coming for infrastructure things and utilities. So it's kind of an interesting window right now.
Susanna,
Yeah,
did you say that a rate study is $100,000?
yeah, that's what we have it budgeted for. We don't have the final number. We're having a meeting next week, I think it is, to meet with the consultant to help us write the RFP for it so we can get it out to bid. But we budgeted 100,000 in this fiscal year for it, anticipating it to cost us.
What do they do?
They're going, well, I don't know all the details yet. That's why we're going to meet this lady and talk about what our options are for writing the RFP. But we're going to look at what we're charging, what we need to charge. We might look at how our structure is right now and to look at what, if there's different options we can do.
Talking about for the water?
Water, street, sewer, storm, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, because we need to figure out what our rates need to be to keep up with the ongoing maintenance and cost of running those utilities. So we're hoping the rate study would have been done sooner, but everything with COVID has slowed us down drastically. For example, we got the bid approved for the backup generator for the police department, but it's on back order till November. So timing is just really difficult right now for getting stuff in here, so. But we are meeting next week to move forward with that. And that's gonna help us a lot for you guys to help when we bring rate changes and stuff, see what we need to do.
Susanna, is the purpose of the rate study to sort of give the community more information as to what's going on in other communities, or like, what is the
It's really
purpose?
for this, somebody else besides us to look at what we're charging, what we should be charging, what we need to charge. And if the structure we're using now with our base rate and so many gallons we add, what we're using is actually effective for us to keep up with maintenance. I mean, ARPA money is saving us right now for these sand beds, and we probably end up using the rest of it on another one. So, but we still got a lot of sewer projects that need to get done. We got growth that we need to deal with. So, and our rates have not been at a consistent level keeping up with cost. So this will really help give us some really good information on what we do need to do to the rates to make it effective.
I hope it's a very good rate study for $100,000.
I'm hoping it's not $100,000.
It doesn't increase rates too much because our community can't afford it.
And the only problem is not keeping the rates up with cost is going to make it harder to keep the system running efficiently for all the different departments. So we're kind of in a hard spot. So getting an outside expert to help us is probably a good idea. I'm hoping it's not 100,000, but we budgeted high to be safe. Hoping it's 60. But I don't really know until Lance finishes getting that put together. We're all meeting as a staff together to talk about what should be in that study and meeting with this expert to help us. So
When was the last time we did a rate study?
I've never done one.
Okay, cool.
We've never done one. Do you know if we've done one, Brian?
Yeah, we've done bits and pieces, and maybe not all the items you mentioned, but here and there we came up. Water really comes to my mind. We've been asking underrated for water forever. They've been telling us we've been undercharging that for years and years. So,
We've done more than calling other cities and just asking what they charge.
yeah, it was actually all documented in
Okay.
comparison to like size cities in the valley and different places. And
Okay,
Yeah, over the years, so.
okay.
So that was, when did you start council the first time? That was like, what, 2010 or something?
2010.
Yeah, okay, so
Oh.
between now and 2010 or 2010.
Yeah, it's a good time to take a look. So that's our excitement. So we'll see what happens. I don't know what that'll do if we'll get it done for writing this current next year budget, but at least it'll get us ready. So it has been a maintenance insanity. It's like our special time. So the City Hall has dealt with some leak problems. We've got some wall damage that's causing leakage. Oops, sorry. I always have cute ringtones. There's nothing boring about this accountant. Sorry about that. I thought I had it off. I apologize. So also with all of the things that we're facing, so City Hall has already outgrown our building. So we need to figure out how we're going to fit another person in the office. So we're looking at that. So I'm putting the money in there for that. It's going to cost us quite a bit to get the cement walls repaired around the building for the leakage. You can see the one next in the front by City Hall, but there's also a few in the back that are causing water problems. So we need to fix that. We've had some bathroom flow problems. So also we've got we're needing to have to do another salary study to figure out where if our salaries are keeping up, what's happening in the trend right now with people's salaries rising. Ours don't seem to be keeping up, and we've been really struggling getting people hired. So it's we just did it 4 years ago. So every 4 or 6 years, we try to do one to make sure we're staying in good competition. So we're needing to add that in right now. So with those extra costs, this $30,000 is to give us some cush to make sure we don't go over budget.
Hey, Susanna, with the salary study, do you have any references as to what the standards are by ICMA or anything like that? Because that seems very often to do a rate study every 4 years. That seems like very
Let me tell you,
frequent.
Melissa.
Let me pop in. So it's what we're doing is we're working with McGrath, who did our salary survey back in 2018 is when we did it. And so what they're doing, it's a much smaller scale project. They're taking the same cities that we used last time and just doing a check with them to see, are we on point? Are we where we need to be? For instance, with the police department, is our starting salary where it needs to be? There's been a lot of change in the field of police in the last couple of years. It's like a checkup, and we're just trying to make sure that we are in line with that. So it's not a full-blown project like we did last time. If you recall, we rehashed all of our pay schedules, everything. This is literally just a smaller scale refresh market survey. Does that help somewhat?
Will that only come to the budget committee, or will that come to the council also?
It will probably come to the council. I hadn't thought that far ahead, sorry. But it will. I mean, in the end, it will, if we get it in time for this budget, it will be incorporated into the budget and adopted through the budget. So yes, it would come to the budget committee and council for final approval.
For a budget thing, just from my what I would be asking is, what's the difference in the price with this one versus the full one that we did? So just to give you a heads up of one of my questions.
The contract price, is that?
How much it's going to cost for them to do this survey of all these cities versus what we paid last time for the full one.
Yeah, it's off the top of my head about $15,000 to $20,000 less than what we paid for the full-blown total compensation.
Yeah, I think, okay.
I believe we paid about 25 for that
Oh,
one,
that's all it was for that?
for the big one, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
For this, yes, yeah. Yeah.
Thank you.
But we've flown positions 2 and 3 times without getting people hired. So we need to look at something. And we also know that the CPI rate is really high right now. And we know that our staff has worked really hard, short-staffed, and we really need to get people in here. So we, as a team, decided this would be a good idea to see if we're doing okay, or if we really need to look at something different so we can get the staff we need and keep them in here. So,
Quick
that's a
question.
part of
Are you
it.
guys on like LinkedIn, Indeed, like all this, and you do like promoted ones where you pay for them to spotlight it?
we're not paying for Indeeds, are we? Well, we're paying for some of the locations.
We do put it on Indeed and LinkedIn. Generally, that's a little more limited because they'll only let us do one at a time. But generally, we are only advertising one position at a time. But yeah, we cover the gamut usually.
And I put some up at the colleges on their board for free and different things like that too. Especially the pool. We've had the pool everywhere. I mean, the pool's a great example. I mean, our starting salaries for our lifeguards is 13-something. But they can go to McDonald's for 15 or more.
I was just gonna say
Right.
it's like 14 or something.
Yeah,
Taco Bell.
so, yeah, so, I mean, so we are in a struggle for that. So this is to make sure with the consultant for hiring the city manager and this one, and all the extra maintenance that's been happening to the poor city hall, and trying to make room for everybody to have enough space. This is just a safety net to make sure we don't go over. What is that? Who does? Oh my goodness. Yeah, so. Flip burgers, worry about saving someone's life in the pool. Tough choices. I will say we do have a really nice set of team at the pool right now, though. So with the community center, we've had a little more rentals than I think we anticipated when we wrote the budget. So I'm just adding a little bit because I've noticed that cleaning and stuff is kind of right up close to the edge. So if we keep renting like we're doing, I think we need a little bit more just to make sure that maintenance and janitorial stays on top of the facilities being used, which is a positive. And then, like I told you earlier, the reduction in the contingency is to balance the budget for between the 20,000 we added and all those expenses I just took out. Any other questions on the general fund? Because that's it for the general fund. That's all I have for the general fund. Mike, closer. Okay. Positive news, the library was awarded right after we approved the budget, $15,000 for ARPA funds. So this is adding in the revenue for that grant she was awarded and the expenditures to pay for the grant. So, and it'll help pay for supplies, books, translation services. So it's pretty exciting. So Jenna's excited about that.
Susanna,
Yeah.
is that different than the other ARPA funds that we got?
Yes.
Is it additional? Nice.
Yeah. These ones are specifically for the library only, and specifically for translation services and materials and supplies, books and things like that for that only. It's a special grant that Jenna applied for.
Cool. Can I just say too, I got the email that there's new hours at the library, Saturday hours. So that's
Cool.
exciting as well. I just wanted to say that for anybody watching.
That is cool. Okay. So with the parks, last fiscal year, we had budgeted a tractor. We had ordered the tractor, but the tractor didn't show up. So now the tractor's in this budget, so now we have to change the budget to pay for the tractor. And because so much delay, there was a bunch of contract services that the bills came after audit was closed. So that needed to get adjusted so that we have enough money to cover our regular contract services for the rest of the year for the parks. And again, the gas is kind of creeping up pretty high, so I want to give myself a little bit of elbow room. So that 52 covers the 32,000 for the tractor, the additional services, and giving us a little extra room for gas to get to the end of the year. So we'll reduce contingency to balance the budget. Sorry. Any questions on the parks? We have a nice tractor. It's a John Deere. It's green. And like I said, it's been a facilities experience. So when the city hall and the police department roof was put on, they skipped the theater. So we had an emergency new roof put on because it was leaking badly, badly, badly. So now the theater has a new roof. And in the process of doing the roof, we also had to do some minor stuff on the inside because of the leaks. And we're still having some issues with some of the sidings are still causing some leakage. And then now we have the concrete wall that's got some leakage like City Hall that needs to get repaired. So facilities is a little busy with the theater. It's kind of been an explosion on us. And as well as we've added in the additional for McKinsey to finish up the study for helping us figure out a site and location for our future building. So that brings it to 110 to finish that out, giving us some wiggle room in case the theater wants to continue to leak in different places than the roof. And of course, contingencies reduced to balance it out. Any questions on the facilities in the theater? It's a great theater.
Susanna,
Yeah.
I just want to just say for the people watching that we own the building, the theaters, and correct?
Oh, yes, we
And
do.
that's why
It is
we're
ours.
That's why we're doing repairs on that building.
Yes, we own the whole thing. The theater pays rent to us for having their theater in there, but we're responsible for maintenance on the building. So, and I'm not sure why, it was before I was here, why they didn't just do the whole thing all the way across. One of those other crazy past before us didn't make sense, so, and it was a surprise. I hope it's fixed now. Now, of course, the water fund has the exciting part, right? So that 900,000 from ARPA gets deposited into there. And then we know the bid came in around 850, but things happen. So we went ahead and changed the budget to 900. Whatever they really use, they use, and the rest will go to what our future plans are for the rest of the ARPA money. But just in case, we budgeted a little extra. And then the other piece of that is that the second water source that Lance talked about at the last meeting, that's going to be a little bit more expensive than the original budget, that's in here as well.
Susanna, for that sand bed that they said was going to be 850, how are they allowed to change that on us? Or is that what did we accept that bid at that price?
We do with any contract, if they can bring change orders, if I find something else, or, I mean, with any construction type work, there's always an option for that. Hopefully there won't be, but at this late in the game, if they come in and with something, they find something we didn't know, or we have to go deeper than they thought, and how many inches of sand, or it'll be too late to change the budget, and then we would be out of compliance. So it was safer to put more money and then only have what we're going to use. So whatever we don't use out of the 900, we'll go with the rest of the ARPA funds, and we'll make that plan for it. If that makes sense.
We'll take it out of there and back into the general fund? Okay.
Yep. Unless we're doing another water project, then we'll just add to it whatever's left to make it. Exactly. I have to watch it very closely. So that's for the revenue. Oh, also on that, the Lance was able to get approved for a grant for $154,000. I think he might have mentioned it from the state. That will go into SDC funds because the second water source is 100% SDC paid. So that $154,000 grant he got will be deposited into SDCs for water to offset the cost of the second water source. So you saw the expense go up on the water side, but you'll see the revenue and the expense go up on SDCs to offset the transfer going over, because all the work is always done in the fund that the work's for. So that made it nice that it was $154,000 cheaper, even though it cost us $50,000 more than we originally budgeted. We still come out a little bit ahead. So that increase to that change you'll see in the SDCs as well. So that's all I have for the actual budget changes that we're doing. Any questions on any of that? Or anything you thought of asking about the budget we're living in now? Okay. I'm glad you guys come out. I know this is not a required step for a supplemental budget, but I've always enjoyed the fact that you guys want to come so you guys get a real close look at what the changes are and why we're doing them. So you can ask these questions before we go take it to council to approve the supplemental budgets. So I'm glad that you guys come out. But I do, since we're here, here's some of the challenges of the budget that we're writing right now. So I thought I'd kind of talk a little bit about that. So you kind of got this in your mind as we're putting the budget together, and we'll be meeting in May to go through next fiscal year budget. So COVID has revenues are starting to come in. We're not seeing as big of a hit on a reduction of revenue, which is nice, but we're still having issues with timing of stuff getting here, and we're still having issues with the CPI rate climbing up now. So even though we got, it looks like we're going to get all of that we budgeted for property tax, for example, we have this other side of the coin now that's messing things up. We're like at 8.1% CPI rate right now. On April 10th, we will use March's report. So on April 10th, that'll be the CPI rate that will be locking us in for the budget that we're going to write. So that's going to be a huge challenge because it's going to land somewhere. And that means next year, from what the experts are telling me so far, is we could expect some higher rates next year as well. Not as long, but so we're going to have a double year of some much higher than the 2% CPI rate that we normally budget with. Gas prices are already climbing. We're not really sure where that's going to go. So we're definitely going to be adding way more in gas so that we're prepared for what's going to happen. I talked about how we're trying to fill vacant positions. We're struggling getting those filled. So we're going to continue to move forward to try to get all those vacancies filled. And that's what that rate's going to help us see what we need to charge. So these are just some challenges that we're facing. It seems like since I've been here, I don't know if I'm your bad luck charm or your good luck charm, but I barely get here. We roll into COVID for 2 years, and now we're rolling into this crazy CPI issue and staffing issues. I listened to an expert on the staffing, and they said they had like over 1.5 million people retire, which is higher than normal, and then people aren't coming back. And that's why their prices are part of why you're seeing salaries rise, is they're really trying to get people to work. But there is a real shortage of people. So it's just interesting that we just seem to roll from one crisis to another. I will tell you this. We were so proactive from 20 and 21's budget, and what we saved going forward is really going to help us prepare for the higher costs that we're going into. And it's not going to feel as bad as it sounds, hopefully, as I'm putting it together. It looks like it's going to cost us, but it's not going to, like, if we were super negative and had really high expenses and we didn't have this nice bigger beginning fund balance that we're going to start with, we'd be in worse shape than we are. So if that helps, we're not in crisis, but it's good that we've been so proactive that we can handle this next new storm that we're going to face, that we don't know where it's going. So just so you have some things that we're looking at as we're putting the new budgets together. Any questions on that? Well, that concludes everything I wanted to share tonight with you guys before we come back to council. And we meet again for the wonderful budget.
Thank you, Susanna, for
You're
this
welcome.
meeting and giving us some extra details to think on between now and the next budget meeting, too.
You're welcome. And I continue to listen to the economists and the experts and kind of have an idea of what we're going to be facing. And I'll bring more details when we come to the budget for what we're looking at and why we kind of strategized the way we did for the obstacles we're facing. Thank you all.
Okay, if we don't have any more questions, we'll adjourn the meeting.